In today's news, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force operation nets guns, ammo, and detains 4 in King Garden Bay. Virgin Islands wishes U.S. well despite reservations about Trump. New policy aims to protect data and combat illicit finance. Dr. Pickering denounces stigma behind having a pap smear exam. Public is encouraged to support culinary events on Jas Van Dyke. Federal judge blocks Trump's citizenship order. Private donors step up to uphold U.S. commitments to UN climate body. We have the details of this and so much more, both on the local, regional, as well as the international scene. We'll be right back. Some claim that the age of a true gentleman is far behind us, but we disagree. He may appear in different guises today, but the values and ideals that make him a gent still stand. The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman by yours truly, Ron Grant, presents Season 7. Introducing Travi Rose, Creative Director. Alex Lake, Businessman. Sean Black, Cinematographer. Dakari Wheatley Adams, Content Creator. Donandre Millwood, Educator and Musician. Hashim Dream, Entertainer. James Todman Sr., Contractor. Dr. Albert Tompkins, Psychotherapist. Walter Barrett, Author. Rakim Todman, Producer and Engineer. Kamal Letson, Photographer. Roosevelt Smith III, Sales Manager and Hospitality Professional. Leland Abraham, IT Technician and Cybersecurity Analyst. The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, Season 7, coming January 29th at 8 p.m. exclusively on 284 Media. Get ready to reason, reflect, and redefine yourself through the stories of real-life heroes. The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, Season 7, Raising a Generation of Greatness. Voted Top 35 Gentleman Podcast Worldwide by FeedSpot and BI Icon Award winner. Hello everyone and welcome to this edition of 284 News. It is Friday, January 24th, 2025. I'm Ron Grant bringing you the very latest out of Tortola in the Virgin Islands as well as across the region and on the international scene. A happy Friday's wish to everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us. Beginning our newscast on the local scene, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force scored a significant victory in its fight against violent crime with the seizure of 2 firearms and several rounds of ammunition during a targeted operation in King Garden Bay. The operation, conducted during the early hours of Friday, January 24th, 2025, also resulted in the detention of 4 individuals who are now being questioned in connection with the recovered items. Acting Commissioner of Police Jacqueline Vanterpool praised the officers involved, highlighting their professionalism and dedication. She said, and I quote, "The removal of these firearms from our streets is a significant step in making our communities safer. I commend the officers for their diligence in this operation and in all other efforts to reduce violence and crime in the territory." Now, viewers, the operation carried out by officers from various Royal Virgin Islands Police Force units within the Virgin Islands underscores the police force's ongoing commitment, they say, to ensuring public safety. The recovery of the firearms is part of a broader effort to curb the prevalence of illegal weapons within the Virgin Islands. Additionally, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force remains steadfast in its mission to create safer communities and is urging residents to play an active role in combating crime by reporting suspicious activities. The public is also encouraged to provide confidential tips by contacting Crime Stoppers at 800-8477. Reports can also be made directly to the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force Intelligence Unit at 368-9339. Premier Dr. the Honorable Natalia D. Wheatley has voiced optimism that the newly sworn-in United States President Donald Trump will be able to bolster the United States' economic strength, a critical factor for the Virgin Islands' own prosperity. At a press conference on Thursday, Premier Wheatley acknowledged the BVI's substantial economic reliance on the United States, noting that many tourist and financial services clients come from the American market. He stressed that the territory's primary concern is ensuring the U.S. economy remains robust during the Trump administration.
Well, our concern here in the Virgin Islands is that the United States has a strong economy. Of course, they will have lots of internal matters that the members of the public the members of their media that they would be able to comment on. But it's important for the world that the United States continues to have a strong economy. We just gave tourism numbers. Quite a number of those persons came from the United States. Of course, financial services as well. We recognize, the importance of United States in the world as from a global perspective, even though our main market is in Asia. But of course, when the global economy slows down, that would affect us here most certainly. So what we would hope for and what we would pay attention to is the strength of the economy.
The Premier said the BVI government will be closely monitoring the new administration's policies, particularly surrounding issues like the global minimum tax. He also expressed hope that President Trump will be able to implement measures to bolster U.S. financial markets.
We know that in the past, of course, they've had high inflation. Of course, we would be hopeful that the new president would be able to come up with measures and means to be able to deal with inflation. It seems like investment, like the stock markets, etc., are doing well right now. That's, of course, something of significance to us. We're keeping a keen eye on the global minimum tax conversations. The presumptive Treasury nominee have already made some statements as it pertains to the global minimum tax that we're paying keen attention to. And of course, Donald Trump would have signed an executive order on that matter as well. So we continue to pay attention. It's going to be an interesting time for the next 4 years, I'll say. So I'll say strap your seat belts in. It seems as though Donald Trump is not afraid to make change from the last administration.
Additionally, however, Premier Wheatley made clear that he does not personally view Trump as a role model. The Premier emphasized that the VI's focus is on wishing the best for the American people and ensuring economic stability regardless of who occupies the White House.
I don't really see Donald Trump as a role model of mine, but of course we want the Virgin Islands to be as successful as possible. The United States has a strong economy. Of course, we have our neighbors in the U.S. Virgin Islands, who, of course, are American territory. We have strong links with them. Many of our persons live in the United States. So we really wish the people of the United States well. And of course, anything, and it doesn't matter who it is, if anything that someone does that's successful, that's something that we can emulate.
With strong ties to its American neighbor, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and many residents having family within the United States, the Premier Wheatley stated that the territory has a vested interest in the strength of the broader American economy as well as society. Premier Minister of Finance, Dr. the Honorable Natalia D. Wheatley, has emphasized his government's commitment, he says, to balancing transparency and privacy through its recent consultation on a proposed policy regarding access to the Register of Beneficial Ownership. This initiative, viewers, launched last week, aims to strengthen the British Virgin Islands financial systems, align with international best practices, and provide a framework that addresses both privacy and transparency. Speaking at the very same press conference on Wednesday, January 23rd, Premier Wheatley highlighted the global debate surrounding publicity, accessibility of registers of beneficial ownership, particularly between the United Kingdom and the overseas territories.
Recent developments, including the European Court of Justice's ruling on publicly accessible registers, have underscored the importance of safeguarding legitimate privacy rights while advancing global transparency efforts. In response, the Virgin Islands is moving towards a system of access based on legitimate interests. This shift reflects an evolving understanding of the need to balance transparency and fairness while ensuring that access to sensitive information is purposeful, proportionate, and subject to stringent safeguards.
The Premier noted that the recent developments have reinforced the need for stringent safeguards to ensure sensitive information is not misused. He added that these efforts are vital in protecting the integrity of the financial services sector, a cornerstone of the British Virgin Islands economy.
The consultation initiated last week on the rights of access to beneficial ownership information is a critical step in refining our framework to meet evolving international best practices and expectations. This initiative highlights the Virgin Islands' proactive approach to developing systems that meaningfully contribute to global financial integrity. As we move forward, we remain resolute in adopting policies that strike the right balance, promoting transparency while mitigating risks related to the misuse of information. I urge all stakeholders to actively participate in this consultation. Your insights will be vital in shaping a framework that not only addresses the concerns of the global community, but also upholds the integrity of our financial services sector.
Now, viewers, when questioned about how the proposed policy on legitimate interests might affect journalists' access to register of beneficial ownership, Premier Wheatley said that while media freedom remains a priority, to him, right balance has to be met to protect the sensitive information of businesses as well as persons within the system.
I'm sure you know you have to balance freedom of the press with persons' right to privacy, and that's the whole concept of a legitimate interest. So the concept would be that you would have someone who would be the guardian of this information, and you would have to apply if you meet the criteria and show why that you have a legitimate interest to this particular information. And it has been put forward in the document right now that journalists and media are being considered as a group who would be qualified to make an application once they have demonstrated that they have a legitimate interest to have access to the information.
Premier Wheatley also encouraged stakeholders, including journalists, businesses, and the public, to engage with the consultation process to ensure that the final policy reflects a balanced and inclusive approach. Up next, viewers, we have much more on the local scene. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
Orange alert! Orange alert! Fire is spreading across the BVI! The fastest, most reliable, and affordable fiber internet service is here for you! Look out for fire in these new locations: Slaney, Duff Bottom, Manual Reef, Seacows Bay, Albion, Hannah's, Palestina, Pleasant Valley, and Havers. Fiber is in your area. Call 444-4444 or visit a CCT store to find out more and bring it home. More locations coming soon.
Just give me my service. Yeah. Just give me my service. Just give me my service.
Make the switch to CCT and get connected today. Unlimited talk, text, and data. Visit any CCT store or call us at 444-4444. CCT, Life Unlimited.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you all for sticking with us. In a recent interview with 284 Media, Dr. Kedrick Pickering, joined by Dr. Arlene T. Penn in her A Simple Swab campaign, highlighted the need for women to take that very simple swab. He highlighted the experience he gained as an obstetrician and gynecologist over the years and spoke on the importance of the significance of a simple swab, reiterating that no woman should die from cervical cancer.
Starting with the importance of it, I want to emphasize what Dr. Penn has been saying, that in today's world, no woman should die from cervical cancer. The reason why that is so is that by doing a simple Pap test, which is part and parcel of a normal gynecological examination, that Pap test, the real purpose behind it is that we can pick up precancerous changes, and those changes can be treated effectively and therefore reduce and probably eliminate the possibility of that individual woman developing cancer of the cervix. Cancer of the cervix is still a major problem in the third world, where women do not necessarily have access to health services readily available to them. And so what Dr. Penn is doing is trying to get this message out far and wide to encourage women to have that simple test done, especially somebody who has become sexually active and is sexually active after you pass the age of 21. It is something that is recommended.
Now, Dr. Kedrick Pickering also denounced the stigma behind having a pap smear examination.
And any woman who has delivered a baby normally should not have that fear of having a pap test done, because it's the same examination that you go through when you're in the delivery room and eventually deliver the baby. So there's some women who think that it is, a painful experience. It is not. It is just a simple part of the examination in which we take a little soft brush and swab the endocervical canal, put that on a slide and send it off to the lab for testing. So if I can emphasize only one thing is to say, a pap smear is a part of a normal gynecological exam. It's not something extra. It is done within the examination.
Additionally, he explained the functions of the cervix and reiterated that such swabs are already a part of the annual physical.
The cervix is basically the neck of the womb. That is where the baby traverses in order for it to be born. So any woman who is pregnant, goes into labor, and goes to the hospital, the nurse or the doctor will examine them and they will hear that you're either dilated or not dilated. And that dilatation is the opening of the cervix to allow the baby head to come through the canal. That is the main function that it does. Beyond that, the cervix is uniquely placed to ensure that during the developmental process of a pregnancy, the baby don't fall out, so to speak. And in rare cases, sometimes you may hear us use a term, cervical incompetence. That is when a woman's cervix is not strong enough to hold the baby in. So we will then do a minor surgery to tighten it up to effectively allow the pregnancy to continue. And then in normal everyday activity, especially in the younger female, the cervix also secretes a mucus that is extremely important in normal intimate sexual activity.
WIN BVI Ambassador and Mrs. British Virgin Islands 2022-2023, Dr. Arlene T. Penn, is hosting her 4th cervical cancer pap smear campaign titled A Simple Swab campaign, which seeks to promote cervical health in our community by encouraging women all across the Virgin Islands to take charge of their health. The Caribbean is a realm of laid-back vibes, stunning beaches, and culinary delights. In the heart of this paradise is Jos Van Dyke in the British Virgin Islands, embracing the spirit of community and gastronomy. The BVI Tourist Board and Jos Van Dyke's restaurants and bars have united to kick off an exclusive vibe of Just Lime and Dine 2025. Events coordinator at the BVI Tourist Board, Sophia Rubain Brooks, share details about the upcoming events.
So BVI Food Fest is basically a series of culinary events. This is basically to highlight our local restaurants in the British Virgin Islands. And it's very important that we highlight them because, of course, it plays a vital role in tourism. Tourists are able to experience local cuisine. And most of the times, that is the most memorable aspect of their trip. And also, it's important to highlight local restaurants to locals because local support equals, our economy, stimulating the economy. So with that said, BVI Food Fest was established in 2014, and that helps to shine that light on the restaurants. And Just Lime and Dine is up first on the list out of 4 events, which is set to start on February 14th, which is Amazing, because I personally feel Just Van Dyke is a very romantic island. The vibe in the night is fantastic. So to have the kickoff on Valentine's Day is wonderful. We have 15 participating restaurants who are going to showcase their finest menus, their creativity, and there will be a special boat that goes over. It leaves the dock, West End Ferry Dock, at 6 o'clock. And returns to the West End Ferry Dock at 10:45. If you have reservations at any of the participating restaurants, you can go over for just $20 round trip.
Ms. Rubain Brooks also spoke on the other events coming up.
Immediately after Just Lime and Dine, we have Taste of the BVI, Virgin Gorda.
Beautiful.
And that is always well supported as well. Again, they offer special boat fares for locals to go over and enjoy. I think it's at the Sugar Mill Ruins, Nail Bay, if I can remember correctly. Yes. So this is where we have all of the restaurants, participating restaurants in one area, and you sample food from each restaurant. So that's coming up immediately after Just Lime and Dine. And then we're going to have Restaurant Week, BVI Restaurant Week, where restaurants throughout the BVI, again, will offer special menus, special prices. Sometimes you're living here, but you're like, I never heard of that place before, that restaurant before.
Exactly.
So this is an opportunity for restaurants to get that exposure and again, showcase their wonderful menus at a really good price that persons can afford. And then to close it off, of course, Lobster Fest in November. Everybody loves a good lobster. And Lobster Fest brings a whole different vibe because it's like a mini festival. You have the music, the jumping up,
Of course.
Everything. So that will end off the Food Fest, Lobster Fest.
She took time to encourage the public to come out and enjoy the various offerings.
So kicking off the Food Fest this year, 2025, is Just Lime and Dine. It's set to kick off on Valentine's Day, February 14th. So if you haven't made any plans as yet and you want to do a little something different for your loved one, I encourage you to make your reservations today. You can do that by calling 284-442-1700 or by emailing justlimeanddine@bvitourism.com, and just go over and have a fantastic time. If you have proof of your reservations, your round trip ticket is only $20. If you don't have reservations at any of the participating restaurants, you pay $30 a round trip. On Valentine's night, you can come down to the West End Ferry Dock and take pictures with your loved one. All ladies will receive a complimentary rose. Couples will receive complimentary chocolates and cocktails. It's going to just be a lovely night. And also, Ron, on March 1st, we're going to have Lime in White,
Wonderful.
where you dress in your white attire, and it's basically like barefoot luxury type of way.
Okay.
So you can go over again and dine, and every Saturday and Sunday until March 16th is basically when you can dine over in Just Van Dyke. So we encourage you to make those reservations. If you need more information, bvifoodfest.com or our BVI Food Fest page on Facebook and Instagram.
For the full interview, visit all 284 media platforms. Up next, viewers, we take a look at some regional and international stories that are important to us all. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
Start the year off with more. More speed, more downloading, more savings, and more Fire. CCT Fire Fiber Internet gives you the speed you need to keep the whole family connected. Packages starting at $119 with speeds from 300 megabytes per second. Super fast, unlimited downloads, even more reliable connectivity, plus free live streaming TV for the family to enjoy. Sign up for the absolute best fiber internet service in the BVI CCT Fire and pay no installation fee. Plus, get CCT Live TV for free. You deserve more. Get more with CCT. Life Unlimited.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. On to the international scene. In a swift rebuke to the United States President Donald Trump's immigration agenda, a federal judge in Seattle blocked the enforcement of his executive order restricting automatic birthright citizenship just days after it was signed on Monday. U.S. District Judge John Cognier, an appointee of Republican former President Ronald Reagan, issued the temporary restraining order on Thursday, halting the controversial policy nationwide for 14 days while further legal challenges unfold. The executive order sought to deny citizenship to children born in the United States if neither parent is a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident. Judge Cognier described the policy as, and I quote, blatantly unconstitutional, citing the citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment, which guarantees U.S. citizenship to anyone born on American soil. Now, during a packed courtroom hearing with additional judges observing, the judge voiced strong disapproval of the administration's legal argument, stating, and I quote, I've been on the bench for over 4 decades. I can't remember another case where the question presented is as clear as this one. He continued by saying this is a blatant constitutional order. The district attorney assistant, that is, Lane Pozziola, representing Washington State, argued that Trump's policy would strip more than 100,000 newborn children of their citizenship annually. These children born after February 19th would face deportation and be barred from receiving Social Security numbers, government benefits, and lawful employment opportunities. The ruling is the first legal setback for Trump's hardline immigration policies, a cornerstone of his second term in office, continuing, of course, the state of Washington, Arizona, Illinois, and Oregon, all led by Democratic administrations, spearheaded the legal challenge. Now, the Justice Department has announced plans to file additional motions next week to prevent the judge from issuing a longer preliminary injunction. Both the department and the White House declined to comment immediately on the ruling. Now, during the signing on Monday, Trump said it was necessary for him to sign the executive order as it is something that many previous leaders wanted to do for decades.
This next order relates to the definition of birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment of the United States.
Yeah, that's a good one. Birthright. That's a big one.
What about that one? That one is likely to be.
Could be. We think we have good grounds, but you could be right. I mean, you'll find out. It's ridiculous. We're the only country in the world that does this with birthright, as you know. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. But, we'll see. We have very good grounds. People have wanted to do this for decades.
If enforced, the executive order would reshape a foundational aspect of United States citizenship law. Critics argue it violates the 14th Amendment and undermines fundamental rights. Former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg's philanthropy arm announced on Thursday that it will provide funding to cover the U.S. contribution to the United Nations climate body, stepping in after President Donald Trump withdrew the country from the Paris Agreement and ended federal climate financing. Now, Bloomberg's philanthropies said it and other unnamed U.S. climate funders will ensure the United States meets its obligations to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, with, of course, runs the annual global climate negotiations. Take, for example, viewers, the UNFCCC's core budget. It relies on contributions from nearly 200 members countries. The U.S. has historically provided around 21% of this funding, paying some 7.2 million euros for its 2024 required contribution, as well as 3.4 million euros in a raise from 2010 to 2023. Bloomberg Philanthropies and other U.S. climate funders will ensure the United States meets its global climate obligations, the organization said. Bloomberg, who also serves as a UN Special Envoy on Climate Action, pledged to work with states, cities, and companies to uphold America's climate commitments, stating, and I quote, from 2017 to 2020, during a period of federal inaction, cities, states, businesses, and the public rose to the challenge to uphold the nation's commitments, and now we are ready to do it again. The announcement comes after President Trump, in his first week just back in office, said he would withdraw the U.S. from the Paris Agreement and end the country's international climate funding. This marked a return to his previous position during his 2017-2021 term. Viewers, that is it for today's News Roundup. Be sure to follow us for your daily news updates at 284media.com. Follow us on our WhatsApp channel for daily updates, as well as to like us and follow us on Instagram and X, formerly Twitter. Of course, be sure to follow us on tomorrow, Saturday, for our weekly roundup, just in case you missed any of our top stories of this week. Happy Friday. I'm Ron Grant. Have a safe and enjoyable evening. Goodbye.